Hey everyone, Ray Del Vecchio here, and today I want to share with you how I track my macronutrients. Now, I do this differently than most people. I'm on Instagram a lot and I see that it looks like almost everybody there uses MyFitnessPal. So I went ahead and I downloaded that app and I used the website, but ultimately I didn't really like it. And during the day, I'm on the computer more than I'm on my phone, so I truthfully wanted a spreadsheet where I can input the food and the weight, and it would calculate all the numbers for me. So what I ended up doing was build a spreadsheet myself. I customized it, and right now I updated it to include all micronutrients. So not only does it have the macronutrients, but it also has all vitamins and minerals. So it's a really cool spreadsheet. And just to give you a little backstory, I built this spreadsheet when I started the keto diet, which was about 11 months ago. And for the first 6 months of the diet, I tracked everything that I ate. So I have 6 months worth of eating logs to go back to and 6 months worth of data with my macros. And unfortunately at that point I didn't have the micronutrients built in. So I think I'm going to start tracking again so I can start testing with that and make sure that my micronutrient levels are at a recommended range. Now, if you don't know anything about macronutrients, all that means is the breakdown of fat, protein, and carbohydrate in the food you eat. So you'll see that for the last probably 20 to 30 years, it's been highly recommended that you should eat a high-carb, low-fat diet. Now, as you've probably noticed, obesity levels have been going up and up, and you're finding a lot more people that are doing well on low-carb diets. Myself being a prime example, I'm down 35 pounds and in the best shape of my life. So I'm a big proponent of low-carb. I really feel like that's affected my hunger the most, where I don't get hungry as often as I did when I was eating high-carb. Now, I'm going to get into reasons why you want to track your micronutrients and reasons why you might not want to, because as everything in life, there's no one way to achieve the results that you want. If you want to get in shape, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can go scientific, you can go with forming good habits. If you're going to go keto like I did, the first thing that I did was I found 2 to 3 keto calculators, which they calculate the macronutrients for you based on your height, your size, your weight, whether you're a male, you're female, your age. And what I did was there was a little bit of variation between them, so I just found 2 or 3 calculators and I averaged them out. And for me, what I found was that my weight maintenance level was about 2,100 calories, and for slow weight loss, which is what I was aiming for, it was about 1,700 calories. So generally on most days, I was trying to fall somewhere between 1,700 and 2,000 calories. And if I had any days where I went over that, especially with carbs, I would just follow it up with a couple of days where I was really low with my carbs. On top of that, within the spreadsheet, I also track a lot of other health factors such as my body weight. Recently, I've been taking my blood sugar levels. The blood sugar meter that I use also tracks ketones, and I like to do that more often, but they're $3 to $5 per test strip, so that's a little too expensive to do on a daily basis or even a weekly basis for me. And I also track the distance that I walk, and that's measured by my iPhone and my Apple Watch. So I feel like with this spreadsheet, it's not just a macronutrient spreadsheet, it's a full health tracker. I can really get a full picture of my health from what I'm eating, from how much I'm exercising and walking, and I can see my blood sugar levels, so I can see how what I'm eating is affecting my blood sugar. And over time, I'm really learning a lot about the foods that I'm putting into my body. Now, if you're not interested in hearing me explain why or why not to track your macronutrients, if you just want to see how I use the spreadsheet, you can click this annotation, and that'll go to my demonstration video. I have a screencast of me using the spreadsheet so you can see exactly how it looks and some of the features that I built into it. Now, first, I want to talk about reasons why you want to track your macronutrients. First and foremost, as I mentioned before, learning. There's no downside to tracking more data in terms of learning. If you're not tracking anything, you can obviously learn if you're losing weight and you visually see that you're losing weight, but there's something different when you actually track the numbers and you see how the numbers correlate with your progress, and not only that, but how you feel on a day-to-day basis. So you might be able to, take note of the food that you're eating and notice that you're feeling crappy after you eat certain kinds of food. And as long as you have a log of that, you'll be able to recognize that and go back in time and see that. But if you're not keeping a log of it, you're going to forget 2 days ago. And that's kind of how we operate as humans. I mean, I have a hard time remembering what I ate 2 days ago, but if I track it, I can just go back into my logs and pull it up. So I think that the more data you have, the more you're going to learn. On top of that, nutrition advice that you read, whether you get it from a book, whether you get it from articles online, whether you actually do go through the trouble of reading studies, all of that is based on a wide population of people, or sometimes a small population of people, but none of that accounts for genetic differences. So regardless of what you think or what you read, you're not going to know how that advice affects you until you actually test it out on yourself. And once again, you're not going to know that unless you're tracking your information. There's a good saying that encompasses this philosophy, and that's what gets measured gets managed. And I find that tracking, for me, was a great form of accountability. Not only do you not purposely forget what you eat a couple of days ago, but if you cheat or you have a donut or you have a brownie or you eat a pint of ice cream or a half gallon of ice cream, you're going to want to willingly forget that. And just the simple act of logging your foods sort of makes you remember that for days or weeks, because you see those numbers. And more important than that, it can actually do the opposite. It can empower you to cheat as long as you're strict on the other 6 days, so you know your weekly average comes out to what you would have normally. So there's a lot of flexibility that comes with tracking, even though it can be a little bit tedious. Now, another good reason to track is your ability to estimate. I've seen this in studies, nutrition studies that I've read and other articles that have commented on nutrition studies, where sometimes they're getting the information based on self-reporting. So they're pretty much telling these people what they want to eat in terms of the macronutrient composition, but they're not actually making sure that they're eating those exact numbers. So if those people are estimating and they're not weighing their food, which I'd imagine if you're doing a study with 1,000 people, there's no way everybody's going to be that strict and that accountable down to the gram. So if you're not tracking your food, it's very hard to estimate accurately. But if you track your food for a month or two, it becomes a lot easier to estimate how many calories you're eating, how many grams of fat you're eating, how many grams of protein you're eating. So if for nothing else, it hones your ability to estimate the food that you're eating, so you don't need to track long term. Another great benefit of tracking is that because I have a log of past days, if I don't feel like cooking or not really cooking, if I don't feel like thinking and I just want to know, what I ate for 2 straight days 2 months ago, I can go back in time, check that out, and just recreate those days where I have the shopping list already done because that's in my eating log. And a lot of times I'll make food in bulk and just eat the same meal 2 or 3 times over the course of a couple days. Now, even though I think it's pretty cool to have all your information, your macronutrients, your micronutrients tracked so you can really put together what you're putting into your body and how it's affecting your health, if you're going to do keto or low carb, I definitely think the most important thing to track is your net carbs, not necessarily the amount of fat you're eating or the total calories. If you keep your net carbs down, and obviously you do have to keep your fat up so that you're not starving yourself, but if you keep your net carbs down, I really think that's going to lead you to a healthier lifestyle and a lower weight. Now, there are some cases where you might not want to track. It might not be in your best interest to track, depending on your personality type. Just off the top of my mind, I'm thinking of 2 extreme personalities. One where there's just no way you're going to get the person to care about tracking or to take the time to track. And then you have the other end of the spectrum where you have an obsessive personality, someone that if they can't measure everything down to the gram, like I was just talking about, then that actually drives them crazy. So thankfully I fall somewhere in the middle. I like having all the information from tracking, but I was okay with estimating every now and then. I was okay if I missed one item that I had at the beginning of the day, because I knew that my long-term trend was going to be pretty accurate. And I did mention this before, tracking can get tedious. Even if you're not crazy about it, it still can be a tedious process. And there are some days where you're really busy and you just don't get around to inputting the data. So, you can either just skip those days, or 2 or 3 days in advance you can try and remember what you had and estimate it to the best of your ability, which is what I did most of the time. But I'm not going to lie, it can be tedious. That's something you have to consider. But for me, I felt that the benefits outweighed any extra time that I was putting into tracking. Now, if you're going to start tracking, I want you to think of it as an experiment or a test. I don't want you to think of it like I need to track for the rest of my life to live a healthy lifestyle, because in no way do I think that's true. Like I said, I tracked for 6 months, and for the last 5 months, I haven't tracked my food at all, even though I've been eating a keto diet, and I haven't gained any weight. I've stayed at my maintenance weight, so I obviously have succeeded doing it both ways, with tracking and without tracking. And since I just updated my spreadsheet to include the micronutrients, I think what I'm going to do is probably track for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and then take a few weeks off, so I'm not driving myself crazy tracking every day of the month now that I'm at my maintenance weight. Now, going back to accountability, like I said, tracking is not the most important thing to losing weight, and really the food you eat isn't necessarily the most important thing to losing weight. It's developing the habits. You can have the best food, or you can track, but if it's too much of a hassle to form the habit where it becomes almost mindless, where you're doing the habit almost unconsciously, then it's not going to be worth it. Now, having said that, you have to consider that forming 2 habits or 3 habits at once is going to be a lot harder than forming 1 habit at a time. So I'll give you a perfect example. A habit that I formed years ago is drinking only water or unsweetened iced tea or coffee. So I don't drink any calories, and I really don't drink any artificially sweetened drinks. Another example would be exercising. I decided that I wanted to lose weight without exercise because I knew that if I was trying to change my diet along with trying to figure out what my perfect exercise routine was, it might take up too much time and I might not create the habit. So I was more concerned with creating the habit long term with my diet first. And really for the past 2 to 3 months, I've been doing more with exercising. I've been doing push-ups, kettlebell swings, and resistance band training every morning, and I've been noticing, just that I feel more toned, more strong because of that. But like I said, I didn't want to do that when I was first starting on the keto diet. I wanted to make sure that I was building good habits. Now, another thing that you'll hear is that it's antisocial or less social if you're trying to track everything that you eat, especially if you go out to eat. People think that you're playing on your phone, you're limiting what you eat, you're going to get funny looks. And there is some truth to this, but I think that's also a slippery slope because in my experience, the social pressure part of it is the hardest part of staying on a diet. Not many of my family or friends eat low carb, and a lot of them eat junk food and high carb food. So it's tough for me to say no to that all the time. But you have to do that, and if you want to lose weight, if you have a goal of being healthy, you have to make hard decisions sometimes. But you have to balance it as well. You don't want to eat every meal inside by yourself. So find the balance, but make sure that you're not using social situations as an excuse to eat unhealthy. And lastly, you don't need to track everything you eat to track what you eat. You can use a journal, a written journal, if you just want to write down the foods you're eating every day. Not even doing the numbers. You could just write down what you eat, and over time, or maybe each day, write down how you feel along with what you eat. After each meal, you could take pictures, whether you're just taking them for yourself or whether you're posting them to Instagram or Facebook. Some of your friends might not like it if you're posting 3 meals a day, but I read somewhere that you do have more accountability if you're posting your pictures to a crowd as opposed to just to yourself, because when it comes time to eat a meal and you want to cheat, you're going to think about it twice if you build a habit of posting that meal every time to Instagram or Facebook or some other social network. So there's other ways to track besides tracking all your macronutrients. You got to find the way that's easiest and best for you. With all the basics taken care of, let me get into this demonstration. I'm going to go over to the screencast and I'll show you how I use the spreadsheet. So let me show you how I use this food tracker here. Now, I recently updated this to include minerals and vitamins, so all the micronutrients. So I tracked for 6 months. I didn't have any of this information when I tracked. At that point, the spreadsheet was only macronutrients and the fat composition. And actually, it didn't even include the mono and poly and saturated. It was only the omega-3s and the omega-6s. But as you can see here, this now is a complete profile of your dieting. The way this works is I have a food list, a simplified food list that only contains whole foods because, frankly, I don't eat packaged foods, and I didn't need a database of 17,000 foods like services like MyFitnessPal provide. So I wanted to just limit my foods, and I think right now the food list is about 150 items. So you can start typing in the food you want to add. So right here, let me just type in butter. So if I start typing in butter, it's going to show me the options, which I have butter and cocoa butter in here. And for all of these items, I'm going to put in the gram amount. So I highly recommend that you buy a food scale if you want to track your items. It just makes it way easier. So all you have to do is input the item and the gram amount. So I'll do, say, 50 grams. And you'll see that that is mostly fat and a little bit of water. But what we have here is you see the fat breakdown, how much saturated, how much mono unsaturated fats are, and how much poly unsaturated fats there are. We have the omega-3 and omega-6s, which if you don't know about that, it's been recommended that you want to keep your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio around 1 to 3. So you can see this is around 55, which is not good. I don't have enough omega-3s here. Now, let me add salmon, and I'll show you, that's an item that has a lot of omega-3. So if I add 120 grams of salmon, which is about 4 ounces, you'll see that that provides 2,400 milligrams, which is about 2.4 grams of omega-3s. So just adding a 4-ounce portion of salmon, it bumps that down from 50 in the 50s, which it was before, to 4.8. So you can see from 56 to 4.8. And if you double that portion, if you have about 8 ounces of salmon, you can see you're down into that 1 to 3 range that you want to be in. So what you'll notice is that just by eating fish a few times a week, you can keep your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in a good range. And that's something I need to do more. I really don't even... I like fish, but it's not my favorite meat. It's, by far my least favorite, behind beef, chicken, and then pork. But I try and eat salmon usually once every 2 or 3 weeks, and I should bump that up to 2 or 3 times a week, really. As you can see here, this is a really cool spreadsheet. Once I put this in place, I was really happy with how it turned out. And let me show you the food list here, which is in a different tab. So if we go over here, you'll see this is the complete food list. And I broke down all the foods into categories. So I have dairy, fats, fruits, grains, which you're probably not going to be eating much of if you're on keto or low carb, leafy greens, meat and fish, nuts and seeds, spices and herbs, sweeteners, and vegetables. So the reason I did this is because I want to be able to sort through all these. If for some reason I want to see which foods have, the most copper or the most manganese, I can go through and sort these, and then I can sort by category. So if I just want to see not overall how much has the most manganese, I want to sort by dairy and see how much dairy has the most manganese, I can do that. I think I'm going to start tracking again, at least for a few weeks at a time, to see my micronutrients, because like I mentioned before, I didn't get to do that in the 6 months that I was tracking. And one thing to note on this is that all these foods are standardized by weight. So this includes 100 grams of the food on every one of these foods. And what you'll notice is that 100 grams is composed of the macronutrients, the water, and the ash, which I didn't know what ash was until I created this spreadsheet. The ash is just the combination or the cumulative sum of all the minerals and micronutrients. So if you add up the fat, protein, carbs, water, and ash, you're going to end up with 100 grams on all of these. And you can see foods like, oils don't have any water at all. They're just pure fat. You have vegetables and fruits, which have usually between 70 to 80 grams of water per 100 grams of food. And then you have, let's go down to the nuts and seeds. You can see those are usually 1 to 10% water. So even foods that you wouldn't expect to have any water do have a little bit trapped in there. And obviously if you roast them, that's going to drive more off. This to me is a pretty complete list of the foods I eat. I haven't needed to update this for the most part. And a lot of times I'll estimate. If I have a food that's similar to one of these foods but it's not on the list, I just estimate. And I'm more concerned with the overall trends. So now that we showed you this, I'm going to go into the log here, which before we were just looking at what we ate one day. over on the log here, this tracks all your numbers each day. So it tracks the totals for each day. And this is cool because, again, you can get the running average of either a week or a month, which I believe it's more important to track your averages than it is any one particular day or being super accurate on one particular day. But I don't care about estimating anymore. It doesn't drive me crazy if I can't weigh things. I just throw it on there, estimate it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But I'm not. The long-term trend is going to be accurate as long as I keep with tracking on a daily basis. So let me show you another cool feature that I just built in. I wasted so much time doing manual copying and pasting. So I wrote a script for this document that's going to automatically log the data from your daily spreadsheet or your daily sheet down here. So as you can see on the log, the dates that are tracked, which these are fake numbers, by the way. I wasn't under-eating most of these days. As you can see, it's under 1,700 calories. But we have October 1st through October 4th logged, and today is October 5th. So you'll see here the spreadsheet name is 2016-10-05, which is October 5th. That's the date. And I'll show you why we do that in a second. But if I go to here, let's say, for instance, that we're done for the day. We want to log everything here. Normally what I would do is copy this range over to the log, and then I would download this as a PDF, so I had a copy of what I ate in that particular day, and then I would update the sheet name to the next day, so that way when I download the PDF, I'm going to have a running PDF that's in order of each day. You know, it's organized by day. So I was doing all that manually, so I found out there's a pretty easy way, at least in theory, it's easy, the idea. You know, it took a little bit of time to code it, but to automate all those tasks. So I'm going to show you how that happens. I created this functions spreadsheet over here, this function sheet. So you can either go up here and click this log today button, and after this runs, it's going to tell you that either there's an error or that it successfully ran, and it's going to log the time and the date that it ran, so you know the last time that you ran this function. And another cool feature is I included that log today function also in the bar up here. So you'll notice we have a nutrition tab. If we click on that, we can click log today, and let's see what happens. Like I said on the log, you can see that we're only logged at 10:04. So I'm going to click nutrition log today, and it's running the script. We're going through, and you can see that it was successfully run here today at 10:56 a.m., which is the current time. So the first thing you'll notice is this spreadsheet was renamed to 10:06, so it updates to tomorrow's date. I still have to build in, you know, a little bit of checking if it's at the end of the month, but you'll notice that we had 1,943 calories on this day. So if we go over to the log, you see 10:05 is logged, and we have that amount. So this automates the task of logging everything in one day. It automates it into one button. It logs it. It changes the name of this. And even cooler, if we go to my home Google Drive, you can see that it creates a PDF of that daily intake. So if you want to go back in time, say, you know, you've been logging for 2 months, you want to go back and you want to hit the macros for a certain day, you can open up the spreadsheet, or open up this PDF, I'm sorry, and then see exactly what you ate in that day and then recreate it. So I did that many times with just the macros, but like I said, it's going to be even more valuable now that A, you're tracking micronutrients, and B, all these tasks that I was doing manually, they're automated. Now let me show you a couple other cool features here. I have two other sheets on here. I have the minerals sheet, which this shows you all your daily totals for minerals, which are imported from this sheet over here. And it compares that against the recommended daily value. So over here, you'll see the percentage of the daily value. So on this particular day, magnesium, we were over 120%. We had 500 milligrams. And I also have notes here, which I want to do a little bit more research on the micronutrient side of things. But I've seen in studies that the sodium recommendation for the keto diet or low carb is 3 to 5 grams per day, and potassium is 2 to 3 grams per day. And if you don't get enough of those micronutrients because your body's not retaining water, you're going to flush them out of your system, and you might have side effects like lightheadedness, cramps.
So it's important to get enough water and get enough of these micronutrients when you're on the keto diet, which is why I wanted to build this into the spreadsheet. So this includes 13 minerals and all the major vitamins. You have vitamin A, and I put these in order. So thiamine is vitamin B1, riboflavin, however you pronounce that, is vitamin B2, niacin is vitamin B3, choline is B4, this panto acid is B5, we have B6, I believe that folic acid or folate is B9, and then there's B12. So like I said, I'm going to do more research into this and probably create a video on micronutrients because I'm interested in what each one is good for and the side effects of not getting enough of them. You know, one thing I've seen in a lot of videos is that even though the daily recommended value on some of these is low, you can go as high as sometimes 10 times that, and it's actually beneficial. You don't have side effects, but you get a lot of the benefits of getting a high dose of vitamins. I'm sure that's not the case for every single one of these, but I do know for sure that there's cases of people being recommended to have about 1,000% of the daily value of vitamin C or something like that, and it really does help them with either their immune system or some problem that they're dealing with. And the other cool feature of this is the macros tab here. So, you know, I see a lot of people post in the MyFitnessPal pie charts, so I just recreated that, and this takes your daily values and shows you the percentage of your calories from that. You can change the goals up here. Right now this goals area doesn't do anything, like there's no calculations. This is just for your own benefit, so you can see what your daily goals are compared to what you're doing today. But other than that, it imports the grams as well if you want to take that into account. But it shows you your picture of your macros right here, along with the net carbs, which if you're doing low carb or keto, I think that's the most important number more than anything else. I mean, it's important to get enough fat and get enough calories, but I think keeping your carbs low, that's really what you want to do. And make sure that you're eating enough fat so that you're not hungry and starving yourself. So there you have it. I mean, that's this spreadsheet. I mean, this is my baby. I created it probably about a year ago before I started the keto diet because I didn't feel comfortable doing the diet unless I tracked. And that's just my personality. I definitely don't think you need to track to do the diet. Like I said earlier in this video, there's a lot of benefits to tracking, and the biggest one being just learning. You're going to learn a lot about yourself, about nutrition, about how different foods affect you, and in the end, I think that's the biggest factor towards living a great life. I mean, if you can have more energy every single day and be healthier and live longer, why wouldn't you want to do that?
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration, and as you can tell, I put a lot of time and effort into building that spreadsheet, and I want to make it available to you because I found that there was a lot of inherent limitations with MyFitnessPal and the other calorie or macro trackers out there. You know, the number one most important thing is you want to own your data, and I think the easiest way to do that is in a spreadsheet because then you can have it as a CSV file, an Excel file if you use Microsoft software, or you can continue to use Google Drive or Google Documents like I do for all my business and personal use. You can buy the spreadsheet for a one-time price of $49, and that's the cost of MyFitnessPal per year. So they charge $49 a year. I'm charging $49 one time, and what's going to come with that? Well, I want to continue to add features to it. For instance, MyFitnessPal has an add recipe feature. I want to add that as a function within the spreadsheet so that you can reference a recipe once you do it one time. But I also want to help people customize the spreadsheet if they want to do that themselves and help them personally set it up. Because I know this is a little bit more difficult than using an app, and it might not be for the average user. You know, you probably, if you're not used to using spreadsheets or on the computer, then you're probably not going to need this or want this. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that have asked me about it. And personally, like I said, I think this is the best way to track your health information in a spreadsheet so it's combined and that so you have that information over a long period of time. Even though I haven't been tracking my macros for more than a year, I've been tracking my weight for the past 4 or 5 years, and I plan to track my weight and other health indicators really for the rest of my life. I mean, this is kind of a lifestyle that I plan on living. This isn't just to get healthy. It's a mission to learn as much as I can about how to live a long, happy life. If you're not interested in tracking your macronutrients, but you do want to lose weight on a low-carb or keto diet, I put together a 7-day meal plan that makes it really easy for you. It includes a lot of the meals that I eat on a regular basis. They're really easy to cook. There's a few no prep snacks in there. And on top of all that, you're going to get to eat chocolate every day. So you can download this PDF at my website, ketodietresults.com. And that also includes a shopping list. So you're really good to go for your first week. You can test out the diet and see how you like it. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you're trying low carb or if you track your macronutrients. Because like I said, for me, I think it was the best form of accountability. Thanks everyone out there on YouTube. Have a great day.